My name is Rachel Majors. I am a digital marketing consultant through the ASBTDC, or the Arkansas Small Business and Technology Development Center, through the U of A. So today we'll be discussing a lot of the technical aspects from a marketing perspective. I'm not a web developer. I have worked with some really talented web developers throughout my career. I have worked on several websites established and brand new for small businesses to really large companies. Every project is different. Every error issue is different. So today we'll be discussing a decent amount of use cases. If you already have a website up, these are great things that you can go double check after and just kind of do some optimization of your current site. If you haven't started your website journey yet, then you're in a good spot and you can create a really great checklist for yourself. This webinar is being recorded, and we will send the deck to you guys, and then we will work on getting more of like a formalized guide for this as well. That will be like me talking to you through a very long document. So about ASBTDC, if you're not familiar, I see a few clients on here, but we, like I said, are the Arkansas Small Business and Technology Development Center. We are located in Fayetteville off Dixon Street, and our centers assist all types of for-profit businesses from home-based to high-tech. So through the center, you're able to receive free consulting that is confidential, in addition to market research at no charge. And you're also able to expand your expertise through trainings like today. So I'm excited to have all of you. You can learn more at our website listed here. So a little bit about me. I'm a digital marketing consultant through the center, like I said, but personally, get to know the person behind the screen. I was born in Fayetteville, moved around a lot, but Fayetteville, Arkansas has always been my home. All my family's in Southern Arkansas as well. So I love the area. We've planted roots here, went to the U of A and just stayed because I think it's the best place to be. So I live here with my husband and my two dogs, who are normally my coworkers, but I kicked them out of the office for this webinar. So we just love being outside. We just got back from a really cool bike packing trip in Seattle that you see in that picture. And then professionally, I've always had a focus in digital marketing. So I'm kind of like that back end marketer where I don't always view myself as the creative that's going to give you tell you what your logo and colors and stuff should be, but I really enjoy the back end technical side of optimizing through what we can learn in analytics, like budget optimization and SEO, which has really partnered well with my passion for helping small businesses. I often work with people who are always being told they need to spend more money. They don't have enough budget. Marketing only works with a lot of money, and I just don't think that's true. And so I've really taken an approach to help you guys do as much as you can organically, learn those little tweaks that can really impact your business in a positive way without spending a lot of money. So today we're going to be talking about what you need to consider before driving traffic to your website. So we just often see it's pretty easy to put a website, or it can be easy to put a website up, start driving traffic, and then feel that your marketing efforts are failing. When oftentimes we're seeing that some websites just aren't optimized well for your target audience. And so this course will kind of walk through some customer discovery, all the things you need to consider for your website from a visual perspective, a copywriting perspective. Getting to know that target audience and demographic is really important first. So kind of that pre-work, and then the actual work on your website, and then some of the technical guidelines and aspects that we need to pay attention to create a positive technical experience as well for your customers and potential customers, in addition to the search engines. While I'm not getting into technical search engine optimization or SEO today, we do have recordings of that and past guides as well, and I do those courses pretty regularly. But all of the things that we're discussing today really set your website up well to have a functional site for SEO when you're ready to focus on that as well. And I think that if you can always be moving forward, be thinking of these things while you're launching or editing your website, then SEO can be a little bit easier to tackle down the road. So there are also a lot of words on this deck because we will send it to you, and I want to make sure that you have information, as I know this is a more like technical presentation. So you don't have to read it. I will talk you through it. So the first step is establishing your brand. So we often think as a brand as a logo, because a logo is what we connect with a brand, but it is really more than that. And thinking through a brand strategy that really connects with how you want to convey your business to the public, in addition to the experience you want to create with your current customers and potential customers, is really important. So your kind of brand strategy will include your logo, your branding, your colors, all of that, in addition to your website. Even your checkout process is part of your branding. Like, can you make it easy for people to buy things from you? Your customer experience, social media platforms, and more. So I always think a great first step, whether you, again, have a website or you are thinking about launching one soon, to conduct a quick competitive analysis. And we'll have a resource on here, but look at businesses like yours or not like yours that you admire. So can you start understanding trends and branding and approach and language? And just, I think starting with good examples really helps us strive to understand what we deem as important for our websites. And then observe your competitors' marketing efforts, their websites, language, and products. So what are they doing that we never want to copy, but what are some elements that we can tie into our own marketing efforts that we are finding effective in the market? And then outlining what your business does. So you will find 100 different templates online if you look for something like this, but we have all of these thoughts in our heads. A lot of the time, the small business owners, we can be working by ourselves. And when I was working by myself, I found that it's really hard to kind of get stuck in your own thoughts because you don't have that feedback loop as much. And so I think that if something's in your head, write it out. Simply write out the products and services you will be offering. It doesn't have to be organized, just get it out, type it out. And then you can often just kind of funnel down from there, understand your core offering and core messaging, and then that will set you up to understand what you need to communicate on your website. And then outlining your point of differentiation. So why should people shop with you? Why should they be coached by you? Why should they want your service or offering? What is going to make someone go with you versus a competitor? And you'll be more informed of that once you do your competitive research as well. So understanding your differentiator helps your core business as well as your website. Some people's messaging, you'll see this a lot in like the startup tech world, of like people will call out their competitors, like, we do this better than the others. There are a million different ways to use kind of that competitive knowledge in your marketing. And I think it really depends on what we'll talk about next, which is like your brand voice and how you're going to put yourself out in the market. We'll talk about that after you claim your domain. So I put this in here just because it's a pretty important part of your website. If you don't have your domain, there's some tips and tricks in here. If you already do, I normally don't suggest changing your domain unless it's very thought out and you probably have some help doing that. But some things to consider are just choosing a domain that is easy to say, spell, remember, and is representative of your business. So there are some little things that even customers will look at and deem you as like more legitimate, honestly. So like .com would be a preferred domain ending versus like a .me, .net. It just depends. A lot of the times your ideal domain might not be available, so you might have to go with your second or third choice, but that's okay. Just consider close variations that will be recognizable. So you want something that is going to be unique to your business, but not too long, and easy to understand and remember. A lot of the times, word of mouth is really important for small businesses. You might be telling someone your website, we need people to be able to remember it and go into search engines later. So that's one little thing. If you're working to find an available domain name, I just always advise people to go into a private or incognito browser when looking for this. Some domain websites will, everyone's tracking your data using cookies. They can understand your search data and basically up the price for certain domains. And that's just not fair. So incognito can help with that. Also, my preferred domain purchasing site is Namecheap. GoDaddy is fine too. Just sometimes you can get better deals and the process might be easier on Namecheap, but any way you can get the desired domain should work as long as it's legitimate. And then it is so easy to forget about your domain renewal. So I just wanted to advise everyone to use an email address for this account that you check regularly, so that your renewal reminders don't get lost. And then keep your credit card up to date on these accounts. If you switch to a new business card, if your credit card expires, make sure that this is on a little business checklist for you to keep updated, because it is very important. If your payment fails or something, they can basically suspend your domain. They could sell it back to the original domain owner. It can get really messy. So try to buy your domain for at least 2 years. I would say longer would be ideal. You just don't want to you guys have so much going on. I just don't, having to renew every year can be a hassle sometimes. And the next is considering digital platforms. So, what website platform makes sense for the nature of your business? Will you need e-commerce capabilities? Do you need in-store pickup? Do you need delivery? Are you more food and drink focused? Will you have more of just an informational site that allows people to learn more about your business, and then they need to fill out a form to reach out? There won't be any type of money exchange through your website. So, will you be connecting your POS platform? So like Shopify, for example, a lot of people can use Shopify for their in-store POS and use a Shopify site. And so they are able to run their e-commerce, do online in-store pickup, shipping, all of that through Shopify. And it's always important to understand how comfortable and knowledgeable you are with web developments and available platforms. So I would always advise you to pick a platform that you feel more comfortable managing than to have some like custom built website that you're not able to edit, or you need a developer to help you with every time. As a small business owner, you guys are wearing so many different hats that I think that it is always good to have a base understanding of the way that your website works and how you can make edits, change out things anytime you need to. And then how involved do you want to be in the management of your site? So through something like Squarespace, it's pretty easy to update your information. If something goes wrong, you could get in there and fix it. Something like a purely, coded site from a developer, you might not have those capabilities. So those are all things to consider. Another thing for websites that would impact your marketing later on would be featuring pop-ups or sign-up forms. So be intentional in these. You don't want a website that you show up and there's like 8 pop-ups everywhere and it looks like spam. Like that's going to turn a user off pretty quickly. But a pop-up for a coupon or a special offering or a newsletter sign up can be simple. It's all in the way that it's displayed. So make sure people can easily X out of it if they're not interested and continue using your site. Sign up forms can be different for everyone. So are you trying to collect newsletter signups? Are you trying to get people to reach out to you through Contact Us? It just depends. So I think you guys all interact with these in a lot of different forms. I think just starting to kind of take inventory of that and see what is functional to you and not disruptive can be really helpful for your own efforts. And then at the end of the day, you just want to make sure that your website, and I say POS just because a lot of our small business owners use the same website or provider that they're using in store as well, if there's some type of overlap. So like Square, Toast, Shopify, all of those have like in-store options in addition to online. So just make sure that it makes sense for your industry and your customers. If you are a clothing boutique, it doesn't make sense for you to use Toast because that is more for restaurants. So just, I think, do the research, make sure that you have the capabilities that you need for your business and that your customers can easily interact with. And then if you will be doing any type of online payment, just make sure that it's easy for people, right? So if you're running through Shopify, like Shop Pay is really easy to use. I love Shop Pay as a customer. It makes things maybe too easy to buy. But Shop Pay, Apple Pay, Google Pay, PayPal, making things really easy. We all get annoyed when we have to go find our wallet, put our credit card in, what are those like little barriers to purchase or that you can kind of make easier for your customers. And then, just pick a system that works for your marketing capabilities and customer information retention. So like Square, for example, if you check out somewhere with Square and you're already using Square marketing, it will just create a customer account through there. And then you can use them for your marketing. So I would just say pick an option that makes many of the things that you will have to interact with easier rather than using a bunch of third parties. So for small business owners, we often see Squarespace, Shopify, WordPress, Square, and Wix. There are plenty of others. And again, I'm just always going to advise you to use one that you're comfortable in. The next is just understanding your target audience. I think this is a core thing for all marketing, but it really does decide the information and language that you use on your website. So determining your tone and voice and your core messaging, all of that is really going to tie back to your customer discovery and your target audience, the information that you have around them, because different demographics of people are going to absorb information and care about different things when it comes to your business. So understanding who your ideal customer is, it's a easy reaction to say anyone who has money is my customer. And that's not always true. Our businesses and our services and products will cater to certain people. And we want to lean into those certain demographics versus always trying to reach everyone. If you can create those loyal customers who refer people who talk about you online, you will most often have more marketing success than trying to market too broadly, in my opinion. So understanding this will allow you to create platforms in your website that will be very user-friendly and speak directly to your demographic because you know about them, you know what's important to them. How can you make it easy for them to incorporate your product and service into their everyday lives? If that's the type of product or service you have, how can you kind of set up this like easy little online destination that they don't have to do their own research to find out more about you. Like they can come to your website, know what they need to know to make a decision about your business. And then during this process, you'll often identify keywords for your business. So you don't have to use these off the bat, but using keywords and language that your customers will use to find your business is really important. So a core of SEO, and really I think it's tying more into marketing now, is just using your customer's keyword, not your like internal industry keyword. And so it's easy for us, like especially in marketing, in all businesses, there's all this like internal language that we will use that our customers won't be familiar with. So we want to make sure that we know how our customers refer to us, how they refer to our products and services, and cater some of our language to them. And then next is our kind of logo and visual design. So this is always one of the hardest parts for me of how do you want everything to look? And that really depends on your business, how you want to come across, and then what is going to translate well to your target audience. So if you are marketing more to like millennials and Gen Z, your aesthetic is very important. And there's all kinds of stats that say that of like those age ranges care about what things look like. And so I think designing to be attractive for your target audience while staying true to your brand is really important. So just when considering your logo, something that's not too trendy, can it carry your business? You can always update it later, but you want it to be relevant and look good in all of the applications that you need it for. So your website, your signage, social media, and then a few other things for your website are just considering your design style, text and font, brand colors, brand working within your brand guidelines, and then gathering your content and photos. So oftentimes it is worth investing in some type of photography for your website. I think that using more native and organic photos on your website can be really effective versus relying all on stock photos. So all of these things just kind of create the look and feel of your website that can be really important for a user experience. And then next would be your brand voice and copywriting. So leading up to this, we know what our target audience cares about. We know how we need to communicate with them. And your website's going to serve as a lot of the times as your first impression with potential customers, especially if you don't have a physical storefront. So just understanding how you want to come across, what voice and tone should your brand be communicating. Use clear, concise copy across your website to allow your customer to gather information without feeling like they need more to understand what you do. Using strong headlines that help navigate the reader's eyes down the page, and then writing your content in a way that it's kind of funneling down from the most important to and impactful to lesser. So that can be a visual thing as well, but as information gathering, if people only get 2 scrolls down, we want to make sure that they can get a good impression of our business where they are. And then using bullet points or just kind of organizing your information in an easy to read way is really important. One, for the reader, most people do not want to read very long paragraphs. It's just how our brains and eyes work. Most people are scanning websites. If we're in a research phase, we might be going to look at 5 to 8 websites at a time, so it's important for the consumer, but also your readability scores are important to search engines too once you start focusing on SEO. And then ChatGPT has gotten brought up a few times recently. It's out there. It can be a really useful tool. I don't advise using it to write your copy for your website. At the end of the day, you are always going to know about your customer best, and you're going to know how to convey your information about your business. And ChatGPT is not original information. And so it's gathering different words of copy. It's gathering things that already exist on the internet. So I don't advise using it to write copy. It is pretty obvious to understand that if a full site written by ChatGPT has not been written or edited by a human, but we have found it to be a helpful tool for editing. So it's always helpful for me when I'm writing if I can just get everything into a document and then kind of edit down, and ChatGPT can be helpful in the editing process. Next is images. So images play a large role in effective websites. It's just most of our brains, we can't handle a website that is text only. So images kind of help make your website look legitimate and personalized, and helps convey the tone of your brand and kind of the look and feel as well. A lot of photos will help us connect with the business, especially if we're only interacting with them online. So I advise using images that are impactful and represent your brand well. Use as many native and organic photos as you can. An excess of stock photos on a website, and it depends on the stock photos you use, I think, in my opinion, can sometimes challenge if the website looks real, like a real business, I think. So I think mix some of that in. It's totally fine to use stock photos. I would just try to mix some photos in of like your storefront or the people that work there, like make it look like a place that people can connect with. And then this is extremely important for user experience, but making sure your images are optimized in size for web and mobile devices. So small file sizes, and I put a link in here that will click out in the PDF version, but big files and big images will weigh your site down, which will create slow site speed times basically. And if that creates a poor user experience, Google can even kind of like give you negative points for slow site speed and choose not to show your website in search and not send traffic there. So this is something we really want to focus on. There are a few different ways, just like resizing your images, making sure the files are small. Make sure they're still high quality, but you don't want like a 50 megabyte image living on your website. That will just really weigh it down. And then you always want to host videos on your website through a third party like a YouTube or Vimeo versus embedding a native video. That embed is really heavy, and YouTube and Vimeo just offloads the file size and the speed needed to function on your website. You can embed a Vimeo or YouTube or third-party link in your website, and that will be really small and easy to handle. You just don't want to embed the actual video file. And then you always want to avoid using too many images with text. So you'll see a lot of this on social media. That is fine, like an Instagram image with like an image and some text overlay. That's totally fine for social, and it can be used for websites as well. I think it's just better in moderation. If you cannot highlight something with your mouse on your website, then search engines can't crawl it. And if a search engine can't crawl it, then like it can be an accessibility issue as well. And so people who might be vision impaired would use an e-reader. And so accessibility is becoming more and more important online. And if we have a lot of images where our text is embedded in those photos, then e-readers can't read that to someone using them unless you use alt text. So that's the next point of like use alt text, just describe your images. And that will just be in your like media file option. But you don't have to say this photo is a picture of, you can just say like woman typing at computer wearing green sweater or something like what are the words someone needs to know to kind of paint a picture in their head. And then name your image files appropriately. This is really important. If anyone goes to like download an image from your website or they send it to someone else or Google Images is pulling from it, you want to make sure it's something that would be fine to be shared externally versus like website image V10 or something. So just be descriptive of it, of like dinner menu .pdf or something, so that if someone is downloading something, it's recognizable and something you feel comfortable being shared externally. Okay, now we're going to get into a few of these technical aspects that can feel overwhelming, but they're very important. So the first is just determining how many pages our site actually needs. This will differ for every business depending on your model and products and services, what you're trying to convey. But I would say, some websites will have 100 pages, some will have 5, some will have 25. It really depends on what you need to communicate. So standard pages that mostly everyone will have is a home, about, products and services. If that's applicable to you, contact us, and an FAQ. I really like FAQ. It's an easy marketing thing of like when people are asking you something on social, you can be like, visit our FAQ here. It allows people to research ahead of time, and it normally helps you from answering all of those individual emails. So If you're at a point where you're getting a lot of emails or questions about something, normally I say if you're getting it more than 3 times, then it's time to put that question on an FAQ, and that can be a really powerful marketing piece of content for you. So in general, for a website, and this is kind of an SEO thing too, is like every page should be a thought. So we don't want to overwhelm, like your homepage is kind of where everything will come together at once, but you kind of want to be able to segment where it's very clear what your pages are about, and that it has a clear navigation. People can go to different pages if they want, but you're not trying to say or do too much on one page. Many businesses will need multiple product or services pages. That's totally normal. You might offer 5 services through your business. If you're a clothing boutique, boutiques and like home stores, like anything with a lot of inventory, you could have hundreds of product pages. And so just nesting those under categories that make sense and choosing those categories in your navigation is just important. So think about how your customer will want to shop, how you need to categorize things, and then how you need to organize them in your navigation. And then we get asked about this a lot about blogging. Not everyone has to blog. Not everyone needs to blog. A blog is not relevant for everyone. And a blog can look like different things if you want to do it. I think a blog is helpful for like informational sites. If you have an expertise that you're trying to show, if you're trying to show thought leadership, a blog can be really helpful to get across some of those thoughts, ideas, thought leadership that can be more topic specific than you would be on your actual website pages. So it just depends. For like a more food focused business, like say you have a salad dressing product, or that is your business, your blog could look more like a recipes section where you're sharing functional recipes to use your product. And then again, just deciding what's important to live in the navigation, that top bar versus the footer. So the footer is at the bottom, but a lot of the times you'll see in the footer like policy pages, like return policy, shipping policy, different locations in the footer where people know it's kind of a standard to go down there for that information. And then you're not crowding your navigation. And then think about what CTA makes sense for your user and messaging. What do you want people to do when they're on their website? Do you want them to buy something? Do you want them to click somewhere else? Do you want them to fill out a contact us form, to email you? It really just depends, but CTA is call to action, sorry. So like, how do you want to prompt someone to take an action on your website? And then when we get into pages, page titles are very important. So if you can use page keywords in them, that is ideal, but you don't have to do that to start. So just make sure they're named appropriately. So like the about page, that's fine. Homepage. If you are categorizing something where it could be like pants or denim or something, if you're a boutique, whatever your page title is what will show up in one search in your search results and in someone's tab. So again, we just want to make sure it's clean, easy, it's not too long, and that it's helpful for the user. And then considering product descriptions. So make sure that your product descriptions, if you have them, provide the information that people need to make an informed decision. So again, going back to denim, it might be just a short descriptor paragraph of the style, about it, what we like to wear with it. And then with a few bullet points below. So bullet points are really important in product descriptions for the user as well as search engines. And it will vary based on your products, but do you need to include an ingredient list, sizing, product materials? Again, it will just depend, but a lot of those smaller details can be bulleted so that our eyes just read it. We have the information, we can make a decision quickly. Naming your URLs are important. So your core kind of URL will be your website domain. And then in most website platforms, this will be called like a slug. You'll see that. And the slug is where this about, so anything, this backslash is kind of your slug. So your page title will often automatically set this last part of your URL. And so it's important to keep it simple. Blog posts will normally have longer URLs, and you can even simplify those, but you kind of just want to make sure that those match as well as they can, as people will see that in their search bar. Updating the page meta description is important. When you're on Google, that you'll see like a title that is often clickable, and you'll see that little paragraph under the title in a search result. That is your meta description. In some website platforms, they might call it like page description or something. It's more of a backend setting, but that keeps it really clean, and kind of, if someone is finding you through Google, then that's kind of their first impression to even understand if they want to click into your website. So we want to make sure that it's well written and clean. You normally want to stay within like 160 characters on that, but that is really important because it can make your website look real to people. If you don't set your meta description, search engines will just pull whatever the first kind of copy is from your website. So sometimes that's fine if you have a really nice like intro paragraph on your homepage. Sometimes like on a contact us page or something, if you don't write it, it will just like show phone numbers and an address, and it will just look a little bit messy, which can turn some people off to clicking in. And then updating your website's favicon. So that it is such a little detail, but it makes your website look legitimate and fits your branding. And I'm going to show you guys a website example in a minute, but that is just that when you have a tab open, it will just be like this little version of your logo as an icon in a tab. And it's pretty easy to do in most website platforms, but if you don't do that, it will often default to like this Squarespace logo or whatever the platform is. And then just be sure that you have your SSL certification. So that's the difference in a secure website. So we've all ended up on those websites that your browser's like puts that little red triangle and is like, do not move forward. This is not secure. That SSL certification will help prevent that. And if you see in a URL that has HTTPS, that's a secure link. Most domain or website services handle this for you. I just put it in there to double check. So they can expire. Like I worked on a Square site one time where they had some changes at Square and the SSL certificate expired. So it made the website look like it wasn't safe. It was super easy to do, but just make sure that that is set up correctly. And then URL redirection is really important. So if you ever delete or unpublish a page, just be sure to establish a redirection. So you'll see those pretty often of like a 404 redirect will be like, oops, this page hasn't been found. That can change a user's experience because they're trying to get to a page that now doesn't exist and you're not giving them any other option. So if you can just redirect that URL to something else, then at least it keeps them on your site, and they can go back to the navigation to find something else if they need to. We got a question about how detailed is too detailed. I think it depends for what you're writing for. A product, I would always say, like, I always go back to Brené Brown quote of like, clear is kind. So we don't want to overwhelm, we don't want to over explain, but we just want to make sure we have the appropriate amount of information on there for the reader to understand what the product or service is about. Are there any identifying characteristics that we need? And then to make a decision. So a lot of the times with like clothing, it's like material, size and fit, brand, stuff like that. And then in a meta description, being detailed you will have to be a little, since you're only working with 160 characters, that will kind of be like your little elevator pitch for the page. And then once they click in, they can get more information. So if that didn't answer your question, feel free to ask another one and I can reframe my answer. Optimizing your website. This is from a technical perspective, not SEO in this example, but it would impact your SEO going forward. You just always want to make sure that your website is optimized for mobile, tablet, and desktop. So sometimes certain things will look really beautiful and are very functional in our desktop view. And then we'll get into a mobile view and you'll see modules kind of start breaking, or images aren't stacking correctly, or your text isn't automating to fit on a mobile screen. And this can just create a really poor user experience. So that optimization also impacts your site speed. So many of those common website platforms that I mentioned before, like Squarespace, Wix, they will all have like your mobile, tablet, and web view that you can double check everything in. But it's just always something to check. Sometimes it's fine. And then most of the time where you'll have issues, like if you have a double column on your website, it will look great in desktop. But when I shorten my screen to an iPhone, if those columns aren't automatically stacking or something, it will kind of break the page. So always something good. Mobile versions of a website can often use a smaller like pixel size for photos too. And so like you might have a 1200 by 1200 image or something on desktop that is totally fine, and that on the mobile version could maybe be weighing down the mobile site speed. So you could maybe use a 400 by 400 for the mobile version. And I know some of that is technical. It is technical. If you're working with a developer, just make sure that in your agreement, they are aware of mobile optimization and that they will do that for you. If you're working on your own, your platform will have specific like updates and kind of how-tos. So just something to pay attention to. Always test on multiple devices as well. And then these are just some stats that I thought were interesting. And I know we all experience this when we are the customer, but just kind of driving home how important that site speed is and what customers expect of us. So I thought this one was really interesting too, that businesses with slow loading pages will leave a negative impression of almost half of your customers. So definitely something to pay attention to. Like I said, many website platforms will have access to these tools, but you can also test your site speed and get free recommendations through Google's PageSpeed Insights, which you can just Google or use this URL below. And then I'm going to pop out of here and show you guys an example that I really like called Branch Basics. I use this product. It's really great. They're kind of always a marketing case study for me, but I'll just show you a few pages, and then you can look on your own if you like. But I think they do a really good job about keeping things simple. They're kind of doing a different concept of cleaning of, they have a concentrate and then you make it into multiple different formulas basically to use this one thing throughout their house. So you can see they show a really beautiful image. I immediately know what it looks like, that it's pretty simple. They have their kind of messaging statements up top. I can shop now. That's easy. That's their first like call to action. Kind of their social proof here. So you can see they've been featured, kind of legitimizes them. Where maybe you haven't heard of them, maybe you haven't used natural cleaners before and you're interested in switching, kind of allows you to know that this is a trusted business by a lot of people. And then I always think this is easy, like a little GIF or video, if there's kind of a how-to, like they get a lot of questions on like, their process is really simple, but it's just different to a lot of places. Like a lot of people are used to buying 5 different cleaning products, and this is one that you're making on your own basically. So I think that this is really great to just understand how easy it is. And then if I want to, I can click on this, how it works, to learn more. They launched a course. So if I'm not ready to use the product yet, or I just want to learn. They have an educational platform. And then customer testimonials are always great when it makes sense. It's just great to see people like us using the product that they find beneficial as well. And then they have their founder story, but you can kind of tell with the information, how we were talking before, how they're funneling down to, we're going to focus on the product, how you use it, make it easy to understand for people. And then if you want to learn more about them, it's more towards the bottom. Their navigation is very simple. Their product suite is simple, so that is part of it. But you can see here, they don't have a lot of drop downs. And then their footer is where they host some of this information. So it's all a decision for you, but I think it's good to look at a few different sites that show how to do it in a few different ways. So they have a shop on here and a learn on here. Their learn is more of their blog. And then once you actually click, it comes out to their navigation. You'll see a lot of websites where if I hovered over this, they would drop down. It's just a styling thing, and how you want to approach it. So I'll go back over here. A few tools to install to learn from your website traffic. It's always important to create a Google Search Console account. This is where you will submit your website to Google so that it knows to crawl it and that you are a site worth sending traffic to. And then Google Analytics. So if you've used Google Analytics in the past, it's going to look different for you. Now they have switched over to Google Analytics 4, which I was a little bit like, I've been using this other thing for almost a decade. Why do I have to switch? But the metrics are more simplified. There are a lot of engagement metrics on there, which I've really been enjoying. And it's just always good where even if you're not looking at your analytics all the time, it's important to have running in the background so that when you are ready, or if you're saying like, oh my gosh, our sales are up 50% this week, you can go use those analytics to understand where traffic is coming from, what is driving that. Like you might see that you're having a ton of organic traffic come to your website. So that is people like Googling keywords and they're finding your website. That would be a really great thing to know that maybe that SEO work you've been doing is working well. Or maybe you're seeing a huge increase in direct traffic for a week. And you can kind of, direct traffic is someone typing in your URL into the search bar. So if I see that, I might start thinking, okay, well, I was at the farmer's market last week and people saw my tent and they saw my business and they saw my website and they're coming to learn more. So just having that data gathering, it's free data is always helpful for us. And then, yeah, those are the main things. I love data, and I have a few courses on this that are recorded and a few documents as well if you're interested in learning more about analytics for marketing. So once we have our website set, we feel good about these things, we have a website that we want to send traffic to. It's just important to determine your marketing tactics. So I always kind of take a content marketing approach, as you'll find that different customers will interact with content differently. So some people like short form content, like social media. Some people really like blog posts. Some people will only watch videos. Some people will mainly interact with you through email. So it's a lot of work going on all the time, kind of that 360 approach. But I would say pick a few different marketing avenues and do them very well, and then add on from there. So it's not a one size fits all solution. It's really going to depend on that kind of target audience and customer discovery research that you've done before. So social media, a few ways. This is more about driving traffic to your website from these, but on social media, you want to make sure you have your website link in your bio. If there's something that people can buy, you can add the shop links. If you run a boutique or something with a lot of products, you can connect like Shopify, for example, or Squarespace with Meta for Business, and that will create those little shop links that you see on a post. And then now everyone can link in Instagram stories or Facebook stories. So that's really important, like making it really easy where if I'm sharing a recipe link, I just go put that in my story, and people can link out there. Then email marketing, so including links to purchase, pre-order, sign up, events, anything you need to communicate through email that can drive traffic back to your website. If you're working with influencers or doing any type of affiliate marketing, it might make sense to use like unique discount codes or tracking URLs. Just be clear in your partnership with them where you want them to drive traffic. And then local SEO, your Google business account, everyone can have one. You don't have to have a physical location to have one. It kind of serves as like a second business listing for you. And it's one of my favorite platforms for small business owners. I have courses recorded on that as well as a guide, but that is a great place for you to list your website. A lot of the time, if someone's searching for like Mexican food near me, those Google business listings will show up first because it's local search. And so sometimes you can kind of beat out some of your competition if you have a well-organized Google business platform that links out to your website where people can learn more. And then just considering and understanding if traditional tactics fit your demographic. So traditional tactics like print, mail, radio, those can often be more expensive than some of the online, more digital platforms, but they might make sense for your customer demographic. So just things to consider. In all of that, you want to make sure that there's a place where people can learn more about you. So include your URL. This kind of goes back to that point too of why we want an easy URL that people can remember as well. So if I see a billboard or I hear a radio ad, something where I'm probably doing another activity, I can remember it or remember your business's name so that I can go back to it when I'm not driving or something. And then lastly is kind of that idea of grassroots efforts. So a lot of times people will focus on just digital, but especially small businesses, you guys have a really active role in your communities and people want to support you. And I think that's a really great thing that we have going in NWA as well. And so I would just encourage you to not underestimate the power of those old-fashioned marketing techniques to drive traffic to your website as well. So engaging in those community events, establishing partnerships, like who can spread the word about your brand, making connections with other local businesses, networking groups, Facebook groups, and those influencers in your community. An influencer does not have to be someone who has thousands and thousands of followers, but will they speak positively of you online? Will they share their experience at your restaurant and encourage other people to go? So always just kind of goes back to that idea of like word of mouth marketing is free, and really creating those kind of brand advocates and those loyal customers through creating positive experiences is really important. And then, yeah, just walking around to businesses, introducing yourself, being an active partner in your community. I think that a lot of marketing can be done through connections. And then after you've absorbed all of this, we want to make a plan and invest. To me, an investment can mean a time investment. It does not always have to mean a dollar investment. So kind of set an appointment with yourself each week or each month to think about your marketing efforts. Maybe you create, after this course, you have a few things you need to go tweak on your website, kind of start breaking that down to you in a way that's attainable, and understanding how you can take that time to focus on your marketing. So that can look like reviewing your site or social media analytics and understanding opportunities to either lean into or pivot. And then it's always good to look at ways you can automate your marketing as well. So are there things that your systems could be doing in the back end that could help drive some of that awareness and customer marketing as well? So one of my favorite things was like, an abandoned cart email. You can set up those in your platforms to be like, hey, we missed you. Would you like 10% off? Or hey, your cart's waiting. Just kind of remind people of like maybe they left the website, they were browsing during their working hours or something, and when they're off work, they're going to go back and buy. Those things are very easy, or like customer segmentation data of someone hasn't been to your restaurant or your store in 6 months. Your POS systems are normally capturing that data, and you could send like a, hey, we've missed you little coupon, or birthday coupons, little things that work in the background that are useful pieces of marketing that you don't have to be thinking about all the time. And then using scheduling platforms. So it just depends what you like, but a few that we see often are Planoly, Later, and then now you can schedule social through Canva as well. And then just continuing to be learning and educating yourself like you guys are today through courses like this, or I really love LinkedIn Learning as well. For those in between ASB TDC trainings, you can get free access to LinkedIn Learning through your public library membership, which I love that they provide that. And then just some platforms to invest in if you do want to, if you're thinking about these things and you do have a little bit of a budget, can be your social media, scheduling, your email marketing, Canva Premium. It's like almost $12 a month, I think, but you can do so much in there, create reels, create all of your content. It's really, really a useful tool. And then is it worth investing in a loyalty program or reward program to keep your customers coming back? So that can be a small investment upfront. Like, I will always advise you to do what's comfortable for you. I'm not going to say like you don't have to do a 50% off sale, but a lot of the times, especially with new customers, that new customer acquisition offering like 10% off or something, or every 10th coffee someone buys at your shop, they get a free coffee or something. Just those little things where customers always kind of have your business in the back of their head of somewhere they want to go back to, and that they know you're prioritizing them as a customer, I think can be really beneficial. And that is all I have for you guys today. Really pushing my question time here, but feel free to ask any questions in the chat or the Q&A that I can answer right now, or I can send in a follow-up after this course. And if you don't have any questions, feel free to log off, and I really appreciate you guys joining me today. There will be a survey that goes out at the end of this, and just I'd really appreciate your feedback. Thank you guys. Okay, and I don't see any new questions or comments coming through, so I'm going to close out on the webinar. I hope you all have a great rest of your day.